All right, ladies and gentlemen, Boxing Rush Hour Show, fightsatw.com, fights around the world. I have a special guest today. He's in heavyweight. He's fighting at the big room, Madison Square Garden, January 31st. Jarrell, Big Baby Miller, 26 1 and 2, 22 KOs. How you doing, Jarrell?
I'm good, man. I'm good, brother. Just chilling, hanging in there, working hard as usual.
That's what's up. And I'm gonna throw in AKA do not eat a glizzy in front of him because he will record it and post and clown you about it.
Bro, I'm definitely a jokester. I'm definitely gonna clown you and do what I gotta do. But this fight doesn't bring that kind of energy. These guys are, you know me. I'm quick. I'm quick to start something. You know what I mean? But yeah, this guy's kind of dry. I ain't even gonna lie. His team been trying to bait me in with putting up certain things on his Instagram and all that, and I'm just like ignoring. I'm like, I don't even got the patience for it, bro. I'm gonna lay him out. That's what I want to do. Like, they ain't paying me enough for this one, so I'm just gonna go in there, run in there, do my job, and get the fuck out.
No doubt. All right. It'll be 17 months since your last fight, which was a majority draw against Andy Ruiz. What would you say, if anything, was the biggest lesson learned if you had one?
Do your homework, man. Boxing is full of people that don't know shit.
Hmm.
Straight up. It's one of the very few sports where a lot of people don't have credentials and they go into a gym and hold some pad work and they coaches or somebody that have no experiences, they're managers. Or it sounds good and somebody has some money and they're promoters, man. Just do your research, man. I could have saved myself a lot of heartache and headache by not listening to certain promoters and managers and people that claim to say they know what they're doing but don't know shit. You know what I mean? So do your homework, man. Be patient, do your homework, study, work hard because, you have to not only be a fighter in the ring, you have to educate yourself in the business outside the ring. It's not like before where we go in the ring and we fight and we collect a check. These promoters, managers, so-called trainers, whatever, they're always trying to take from the fighter, you know what I mean? And not educate fighters and try to keep them in the dark. There's a lot of people that even a lot of information the last like 2, 3 weeks, bro, just to get this fight done was so much headache. And I'm just like, people can just call my phone and just ask me a question and I give you clarity. I'm not a person that hide from nobody. But this person say this, that person. And I'm just like, yo, bro, y'all got my number. Like, y'all afraid to call me? Like, it's business. Like, I don't get it, bro. So a lot of people have misconceptions about me. And, it's just still sickening that people supposedly supposed to be businessmen or corporate minded act like a bunch of bitches, straight up. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of egos in this sport right now. You know what I mean? A bunch of middlemen that don't know shit about boxing. And boxing is becoming very corporate. So all I can say is do your homework, do your research, and be patient.
That's what's up. And in those 17 months, what was life like for you outside of the ring? Like what was going on in the Jarrell Miller life?
And I mean, the first couple months weren't that bad. You know what I mean? From the August 3rd to about, November, it was calm. But then I was going through a situation with Slater Promotions. This guy's a real crook, man. And I'm a lawyer, so I gotta say allegedly, but the dude took money from me. You know what I mean? And he allegedly took money from other fighters, and he doesn't do great business. You know what I'm trying to say? And then they try to hide things in the paperwork and do things behind your back and selling writing footages, all kind of nonsense, bro. And our contractors are supposed to been up, and he's trying to come back and from the age of fight getting canceled, which has never been done before. From a fight getting canceled, he's trying to sue for money lost on wages in that fight. The fight never happened. So what I'm trying to say is, as far as you guys got to get a good attorney, good lawyers, and somebody that really knows contract law. You know what I mean? Not just boxing contract law. Because these promoters that have been in the game for a while will find any way to nickel and dime fighters and keep you locked in a contract over nonsense. You know what I mean? So like I said, education once again. But after that, man, the last year been rough, bro. I spent over 150 grand and just going to training camp with my own money and no fights happening. You know what I mean? And legally still going through a divorce. You know, I'm a soldier, bro. You know, it's anybody that know me know I'm mentally freaking tough, like like a boulder, bro. I went through it. I mean, I'm like a working man, underdog man. I've been through it. Divorce, breakup, lost money, dealing with crooks. Family getting shot, people getting killed. Still got to go to the gym on my last dollar. Da hustle back. Got to make some re-up money back on the block. All kind of. You know what I mean? Like I'm a real man's man. You know what I'm trying to say? But we don't complain about it. We just buckle up and say, you know what, shit. I got two legs, I got two arms, I got two eyes. Let's get to work. You know what I mean? That's it. That's what sometimes we gotta do in this life, man. Ain't shit was never given to me. So I know I gotta go take it. And
That's right.
that's how I wake up every day. Just keep banging, keep putting foot to asses. That's it. So when people talk shit about me, it's more than just me being arrogant. Like, y'all don't know what the fuck I went through to get here. Like, y'all really on here sleeping on me. You know what I mean? So, I got a lot to prove still. You know what I mean? And I wear that shit on my shoulder every day.
Mm,
Every day I wear that shit on my shoulder, man. And then I have one bad performance where I was starting to get in this sucker's ass Dubois and on 28-day notice fighting a two-time champion. And I was about to lay his ass out, and all of a sudden, whoop, gas tank went on E. You know what I mean? That was the only fight I ever came unprepared. Ever from kickboxing to boxing, only fight I've ever came unprepared on a short notice. And I came with the wrong end of the stick. And then come to find out, a lot of people their first time fighting a shorty, they get sick. You know what I mean? And that's the first time in my life I've ever felt that exhausted. And I still don't know how to explain it because I've learned how to fight tired. I know how to fight off the ropes. For some reason, that wasn't my night. But like I said, it's education, being patient. Don't jump at every dollar you see. You know what I mean? And do your homework.
that's what's up. And listen, a lot of these things that happen, you can't change the past, right? But you can
Mhm.
affect the present, which influences the future. Now,
Correct.
how have past experiences that you've had to deal with the sport of boxing, how has that shaped you for this second run? Because it seems like you have a second run now. How
Yeah.
has that shaped you for this second run?
Um, I've never had like a huge circle. You know what I mean? I have a huge ass family, but I've never had a huge circle. And I feel like because of how I guess my street mentality of knowing too much people in your business, too much people around, it take one snitch to burn the whole boat. You know what I mean? Or one person around you just to, sink the whole ship per se. So I've never really been a person that followed a crowd or had a crazy entourage because I know one person mistake can get everybody locked up. So I've always been very family orientated. My cousins, a couple of my homeboys that I grew up with, like real soldiers. You know what I mean? So even now, I've distanced myself from a lot of other things that even minute can be a problem per se. You know what I'm trying to say? And like I said, educating myself on the business. Like, I've always been pretty boxing business savvy. It's just really watching people and how they move and being patient, I says, and just educating yourself, bro. I cannot stress education because, like I said before, a lot of things in the past I've left in the hands of manager. Even when I failed that drug test years ago, I left it in the hands of certain people, and to this day, I just take it on the chin. I ain't snitching on them. I ain't ratting them out. I took it on the chin. You know what I mean? But it's backlash, and I'm always gonna get. But like I said, one of my homeboys, God rest his soul, but he was alive when I was gonna fight AJ at the time. He was like, "Yo, brush that shit off. You ain't kill nobody." And it was so funny because one of my boys, he did 18 years for attempted murder, and he came out, and he said, "Bro, you still got a chance, bro. Like you still got it. Like you still outside. So don't let these motherfuckers dictate to you and talk to you no kind of way. You know what you've been through, bro, and you still here. You didn't kill nobody. So guess what? Get up, brush that shit off. You know what I mean, and get to it. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I don't care what anything the media say. That shit, I brush that shit off. I'm gonna tell you what hurts the most is when you get your ass up and you go back to your block and all your homies talking shit. Yo, Highlanders boy smoke your ass, man. What the fuck is going? Like that to me? like that ruffles my feathers more than anything because these are people that I grew up with my family. So, and nobody can crack jokes on me like my family because I'm a shit talker. Nothing don't piss me off more than my cousins talking shit because we crack jokes, personal jokes, because we know each other, right? So, to me, that stings more than any interview, TMZ, any headline. I don't give a shit about none of that shit. It's just like nobody don't know me, and 90% of people that talk shit online, I would say 99.9% would never ever come to my face and say nobody. No one's
Yeah.
never ever stepped to me. Never. Not at Deontay. I'm not gonna talk nothing about AJ right now. But there's no other heavyweights that ever came up to me and pressed me. Nobody. So I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I know who I am. I know what I bring to the table. So hey, listen, be back to working, man.
That's what's up. And this is my last question because unfortunately I'm being told I gotta get off, even though I want to be longer. Do you feel like this fight will give you a good barometer of where you at in your career at age 37?
Yeah, well, I'm actually 36. I don't know
Okay.
how. I don't know how. I need that 1 year. But honestly, it's so funny, right? I like giving history lessons, right? Even though my ancestors are Ethiopian, if I go by the Ethiopian calendar, which is actually the real calendar, my half ancestors are also Mayan and Aztec, which is 13 years, 13 months in a year. I'm actually 29. Yeah, I'm trying to say. So if you want to go by the Gregorian European calendar that we go by, yeah, I'm 36, 37. You want to go by that. But really, I'm 28, 29. You know what I mean? I feel good. I feel young. And of course, this fight is definitely going to gauge where I'm at physically, mentally. Um, but I feel good, bro. Like, I feel amazing, bro. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I might smoke a cigar once in a blue moon. I've kind of gone to that habit the last year or two, and it's a good habit because of being around other educated men and you know being able to sit down and have a great conversation and have a little whiskey or a scotch. You know what I mean? But outside of that, bro, I don't party. I don't drink like that. I don't smoke the weed. I don't none of that nonsense. I love my women. That's about it. But like I said, come January 31st, man. I've never put on dull fights. I come to put you, knock dudes out and whoop ass. So trust me, you're gonna see that come January 31st.
That's what's up. Thank you, Jarrell. I appreciate your time. I wish you the best of luck on the 31st.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate
All
you.
right. Thank you.